Today I fucked up by confiscating my son's Gameboy and hiding it. For 18 years. My son was not doing his homework, so I confiscated his GBA. I told him he would get it back next week. Well, he's a pretty clever dude and knew all my hiding places, so I put it someplace he would never look. Except I suffered a TBI a few years earlier and I forget stuff. So when he did his homework and asked for it back after a week, I could not find it. Arg. I looked everywhere. Narrator: obviously not everywhere. Then we moved house. And I still didn't find it. SpongeBob 18 years later. I was donating some coats I had not worn in a long time. And in the pocket of a Viennese trench coat from the 1930s, I found his Game Boy Advance. And turned it on. And it worked. Pokemon appeared. I put fresh batteries into it and handed it to my 28-year-old son, who proceeded to laugh for a good 5 minutes. Then played it for a few hours. Then proceeded to tell my wife and other adult children how silly I was. TLD: I hid kid's Game Boy, forgot where. Found it almost 20 years later. Family has further proof that I'm an idiot. Dad. Is that you? Jokes aside, my parents also hid my Game Boy Color all the time because I would secretly play under my bed covers when I should be sleeping. They kept hiding it, but I kept finding it. I don't remember how old I was, but I was probably around 10-12. I'm 30 now, and to this day I honestly don't remember what happened to it, and my parents also don't remember what happened to it. My theory was that it was hid really well for a long duration and eventually everyone just forgot, maybe went on vacation or something. I really do miss it though, it was my childhood. I can't believe the GBA is 18 years old. I bet he did all his homework in those 18 years. Is it just me? Or does the Game Boy exist in a different echelon to other toys' entertainment devices? I see stories like this from time to time where a Game Boy is lost to the ether for decades. Gets found. Still works. And everything about life is better. I never see a story like this about a Game Gear or anything else. So what's the story with the Viennese trench coat from the 30s? I did something similar. We were on a camping trip and I discovered a little pouch sewn into the inside of the tent. I thought it was cool and the perfect place for my GBA. It ended up staying there, got rolled up with the tent and packed away. I searched and I searched and I searched for that damn thing. For the better part of a year. Everywhere. For whatever reason we didn't go camping again for several years. When we did, after we set up camp and I laid down for bed, my head bumped into the pouch. The memory hit me like a lightning bolt. I was simultaneously ecstatic and furious, lol. Ha ha ha, I had a good laugh at this. Thanks, just what I needed this evening. An opening to tell a semi-relevant funny story. My mom did this to me too, except that I knew her hiding spots. I found my Game Boy right away and moved the furniture in my room around so I could play in my bed and shove it under a pillow if my mom walked in. My bookshelf and desk broke the line of sight from my doorway. Years later I asked if she knew I had my Game Boy all that time, after shifting my room around. She thought for a second and it dawned on her, and her response was, "Oh, we just thought you learned about your dick." My dad took my PS1 controllers one time. I'm sure I definitely deserved it for one reason or another. Can't remember specifics. I'm 29 and this was well over 20 years ago. I was not a happy guy when I served my time and didn't get my property back, so I borrowed one from my grandma so I could keep getting my Bandicoot on. Glad I had an awesome gamer grandma. Couple months later, he drops the bag of DualShocks in my lap. He hid them on his tie rack, in the back of the closet. I've never, still to this day, ever seen that man wear a tie. My ex was grounded and had his baseball cards taken 1988. He must have really screwed up because his parents didn't give them back until they moved in 2016. Face with tears of joy. I'm amazed that after 18 years the batteries hadn't exploded. I leave some in a remote for 6 months and I'm scraping that crap off the contacts. I found his Game Boy Advance and turned it on. And it worked. Pokemon appeared. You're missing the most important part. Which starter? TBI? Don't forget to check your grandfather's World War I uniform. You might have given him the keys before the Battle of Verdun. George Carlin. This is truly awesome. I lost my Game Boy Color in the Charlotte airport in the late 90s. If anyone finds it, please DM me. Thanks. I was once so paranoid about my sister stealing my Pokemon cards that I hid them in a jacket pocket of mine. However, the weather changed for the warmer and I didn't really pick up the jacket again, and for months and months thought my cards were lost forever till I suddenly found them again at the onset of winter. I found a Game Boy that was lost for over a decade and it was inside the couch. All tucked in the springs and everything. When I was a kid I got in trouble for something and my mom hid my copy of Pokemon Red for my Game Boy. She also couldn't remember where she hid it, and I have not seen it to this day. We even moved out of that apartment into a house 19 years ago. However, my parents never did unpack everything after that move and my mom is a little bit of a hoarder. I'm waiting for the day I can go through boxes in our garage and uncover the box with the game and my Pokemon cards in it. Amazing. Also so good to read a story here that isn't a possibly made-up sexual escapade of some sorts. It has advanced to a game man now. Haha, that's awesome. My dad thought he was clever by hiding my Game Boy in his porn collection. Let's just say I sometimes wish I didn't find my Game Boy. My sister once got so mad at me for hiding her GBA. I was in her hand while she was yelling at me LOL. My mom will be so relieved to know she isn't the only person who has done this LOL. I will always up that a non-sexual today I fucked up, thank you for not being boring. There's no way the battery survived 18 years without a charge. My God. I hope you were okay along the way. You sounded like you were about to develop early dementia. Those things are worth a pretty penny now. Especially the Pokemon game. My parents did this. I found it fucking anywhere they hid it. I was amazing at finding my Game Boy. They'd hide it in the weirdest places. No match. Within 30 minutes it was in my hands. And I would re-hide it too so they wouldn't suspect anything. For the people asking, I beat Red and caught Lugia under these constraints. When you handed it over you should have said I hope that serves you as a lesson with a straight face. Just curious. Did you buy him a new Game Boy because you lost his other one? Or were you just like, meh, it's your fault you didn't do your homework? Tough it out, your Pokemons are dead. My dad did something similar with my Xbox 360. He took it to punish me for something and forgot he took it, and I didn't get it back for like 6 months because I finally got the courage to ask him when I was getting it back and he said he forgot he took it. Warning to parent to not do this because I will not forget or forgive that. You can say what you like, but the man cared so little for my interests that he forgot he robbed me of my main source of joy. Shouldn't this be my IFU? Many years ago I fucked up. Hi, I'm Betty White for Gameboy. My favorite part of this story is how fucking awesome Nintendo makes their game units. The last time I found my original Game Boy from 88-89, in like 2008, the only thing wrong with it was that the screen glue had degraded. The thing still played as fresh as the day I got it. Anytime old Nintendo hits the front under any circumstances, I gotta ask, is there a wilder all-time game than Dr. Mario? I mean, this dude is just steady flipping pills at you faster and faster until